First Chronicles chapter 11, verse 22. These are the words that we find. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, a valiant fighter from Kabzeel, performed great exploits. He struck down Moab's two mightiest warriors. He also went down into a pit on a snowy day and killed a lion. I want to focus on that last part there of that verse. Benaiah, he also went down into a pit on a snowy day and killed a lion. I want to talk about when the going gets tough. When the going gets tough. My maternal grandmother died in 2005. Everyone called her Mama Lucy. Her name was Lucy McIver. My grandmother, before she died, when I was quite younger, I would hear her say oftentimes, "Mama is tired." When I would hear her say this in her old age, it would bother my little young ears because I didn't want to hear her say, "Mama is tired," because when she would relate to how tired she was, she would then talk about getting her things in order for when she died. So when I would hear her say, "Mama is tired," it sounded like she had a death wish. "Why are you so tired, grandmother? I want you to be here for a long time." I couldn't understand when she would say, "Mama is tired." But as I grew older, I realized that my grandmother, Mama Lucy, she grew up during the Great Depression. The Great Depression began after the stock market crashed in 1929. It sent Wall Street into a panic and it wiped out millions of investors. There were rising numbers of homeless people everywhere, more and more in towns and cities in America. Not only that, but farmers could not afford to harvest their crops. And there were people who, because these crops were left rotting, there were people starving all over the place. This is the time that my Mama Lucy grew up in. Mama is tired. Not only that, but my grandmother, she was raised by a single mom. My great-grandmother, Daisy, she had to be what was known at the time a mammy. A mammy was a babysitter of sorts, but she was not just a typical babysitter, you see. A mammy was one with black skin who took care of white kids. So then this means that my Mama Lucy was without her mother many times. Why? Because my granny had to make ends meet. And so Mama Lucy grew up in a single parent home, many times without her mother. Mama is tired. And so then the older I got, I started to understand what she was talking about. I started to understand even when Mahalia Jackson would say, "Soon will be done. Trouble of the world, trouble of this world, trouble of this world, soon will be done. Trouble of the world, going home to live with God." Maybe my Mama Lucy was saying, "No more weeping and wailing, no more weeping and wailing, no more weeping and wailing, home to live with God." She's gone now, but Mama Lucy, I believe I understand what you meant now. Your grandbaby understands that sometimes life is tough. Have you ever realized or recognized or had to come to terms with the fact that sometimes the going gets tough? Have you ever had hard times in life, always having to fight because you cannot flee? We have to fight for higher wages. We have to fight to save marriages. We have to fight to keep friendships together. We have to fight to make good grades in school. We have to fight for justice. We have to fight for respect. We have to fight not to lose our minds. Sometimes the going gets tough. I remember the movie Color Purple. Oprah Winfrey said, all my life, I had to fight. Someone is here right now. You had to fight to get here. Some people are watching right now. They have to fight to even listen to another sermon because they've been all churched out. Sometimes you get tired. But I have good news today. When the going gets tough, you've still got some fight in you. Consider Benaiah. His adversity. Whenever we're fighting, there's something that we're fighting against. His adversity came in the form of a lion, a literal lion. When we think about a lion has claws. These claws, they're at least 3 inches long. They're at least the size of, or the length of a human finger. A lion, the African lion, has loose belly skin. So this means that when Benaiah, when he was fighting this lion, he may have kicked against the belly of the lion, but it's very difficult to harm a lion because of the loose belly skin. And Benaiah, that lion that you're dealing with, has a very special tongue. The tongue of a lion is rough enough to peel away skin. If a lion were to lick your hand just one time, much of your skin would peel away. Life can be like a lion sometimes, eating you up and spitting you out, battering you and bruising you. Life can be like a lion. Benaiah's adversary was a lion, but please know that adversity has limitations. With all of the things that a lion is, there are some things about a lion. You see, a lion can run up to 500 miles or 50 miles an hour, or per mile, per hour. But check this out. They can only run in a straight line. There is a limitation. And they can only run for a few seconds at a time. This is why, if you've ever watched National Geographic, you see the lion, he gets really, really close because he can only run 50 miles per hour for a short time. Not only that, but lions only have a 50% success rate. So Benaiah, that means you have 50% chance of being successful. Your adversary has limitations. There is a Turkish proverb that says a lion sleeps in the heart of every man. So Benaiah had bravery and endurance inside of him. Regardless of the adversity that is on the outside, there's something on the inside that Benaiah could focus on. There's something on the inside. But one may say, but McCoy, even in a pit is dark. Even in a pit. I understand that I have something inside of me, but understanding the context for which I have to fight in. Sometimes we can't change what's going on around us. He is in a pit. Have you ever been low? So low that you can't even find yourself anymore. So low that you don't want to go to work. You don't want to go to school. You don't want to come to church. You don't want to have conversations with people. You don't even want to look at your own reflection. Just low. But there's at least one good thing about being low. When you're low, you're in a better place to look up. And you see, Isaiah in chapter 6, he didn't say that he saw the Lord low. Isaiah said, I saw the Lord sitting upon a throne high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. When you're low, you've got something going on above your head. And if you could just look up, Benaiah had to fight in a hard place. A hard place. Even from that hard place, humanity must recognize and come to terms with the fact that we even have the victory in a hard place. Tired, but I've got the victory. Confused, but I've got the victory. Struggling, but I've got the victory. Frustrated, but I've got the victory. Disappointed, but I've got the victory. I'm hurt, but I've got the victory. When do I have the victory? I have the victory at all times, even in a pit. Even in the pit of life. You see, because God has plans for you. And if we don't stay in the pit, at least for a little while, when God works, we won't give God the glory when we come out of the pit. If we don't stay in the pit for a little while, then we won't know how to help our fellow brother and sister out of the pit. If we don't stay in the pit for a little while, then we may think that we have it going on and we don't need God and we don't need each other and we don't need unity because, hey, I've never been in the pit. But when you've been in the pit, then you have a testimony that God is able. God is able to do it. God is able to deliver. God is able to set free. How do I know? Because I've been in a pit. I may be in a pit right now. But victory is mine even if I'm in a pit. I'm victorious not because of me, but because of the God that I serve. I may be in a pit today, but that's not my name. I may be in a pit today, but that's not what God has for me. I can recognize Benaiah's adversary, the lion, but that lion has limitations. I can recognize the context of his circumstances in a pit. And even in life, we have to praise God sometimes in the pit. And that can be very difficult, but that's the context. But then consider the condition, Benaiah. How are you going to fight a lion in a pit on not a sunny day? Not even a rainy day. Not on your birthday. But on a snowy day. Weather conditions is snowing. If you know anything about snow, you know snow can be contrary. I know in this area not long ago, there was snow. I was driving from Bible study on a Wednesday night. And while I was in Bible study, there was no snow. So I knew that the forecaster had said that there was going to be snow, but there was no snow in sight. The conditions were clear. But all of a sudden, when I got in my car, and in particular when I got on the highway, there came the snow. Snow can be contrary. When I was driving through that snow, there was poor visibility. I could not see my way. When I was driving in the snow, the roads became dangerous, but I was continuing on. But when I was driving in the snow, there were those who were driving in front of me, and they thought that it was a good idea to put on brakes every 2 seconds. It was dangerous. So snow can be contrary, and it came fast and all at once, but I had to keep on going if I was going to reach home. Benaiah had to keep going if he was going to reach success. How many blows, I wonder, did Benaiah take? You see, the Bible doesn't give us that information. But I would imagine if any of us were to challenge or go up against a lion, there would be some scars. Life is like that. If you dare to live it, there's going to be some scars. But you've got somewhere to go. There is a success rate for believers. He had to keep fighting. And you know, some of you grew up in a time, and even maybe now, my dad has told me that whenever he was a child, his mother, if he would come in from a fight, and if he didn't win, if he came in crying with his head down and a bloody face, she'd say something to him. She'd say something to him that sounded like, you go back out there. And don't you come back in here until you win. You go back out there. And I'm not saying it's proper parenting, but what I am saying is that when somebody sees something in you, when they see victory in you, when they see success in you, they're not going to let you lose. And so then there's good news. God sees something in you. God sees success in you. God sees a future in you. So God is not going to let you lose. You have to get back out there and fight, because Christians have something inside of them. Christians are not like just regular people walking around. They have something that other people don't have. Christians, in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loves us. Christians, dear children, you are from God and have overcome them, because the one that is in you is greater than the one that is in the world. Christians, there's something inside of you. All things work together to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. So then you've got to keep fighting. This is not the time for believers to give up. This is not the time. There are too many things happening in our world. And this is the time that the Lord is saying to the church, I need you to be the church. This is the time when the Lord is saying to Christians, I need you to be Christian. This is the time where the world is continuing to die and we have the bread of life. This is the time to keep fighting. I know that it's hard. I know it can be hard, and maybe that's why folks say some glad morning when this life is over, I'll fly away. That's right. It's hard. To a home on God's celestial shore, I'll fly away. But until then, while I'm here, I have to fight. Until then, while you're here, you have to fight. We're all in a boxing ring, if you will, with life. But what we have to do is get in our southpaw stance. And when life gives you a right hook, you have to hang in there. When life gives you a left hook, you have to hang in. When life gives you an uppercut, you have to hang in there, and you have to learn how to dip and dive. You have to learn, because this is a fight. So you have to get in your southpaw stance. Why? Because you've got Jesus in your corner. And Jesus is saying, don't throw in the towel now. You've got Jesus in your corner. And if it gets too out of control, you see, Jesus is bad. Jesus will step in the ring for you. So see, there's going to be some times when you don't even have to fight, because Jesus took away the sting of death. Well, what does the fight look like, McCoy? What are you talking about, McCoy? Well, step aside and let's put Jesus in the ring. You see, because Jesus already defeated death. And so when Jesus fights for you in this corner, we have death. Death has took down a many men. Death has took down Confucius. Death has taken down Muhammad. Death has taken down Buddha. Oh yes, death, ladies and gentlemen, has conquered a many men. But in this corner, that's right. He defied gravity when he walked on water. In this corner, he opened a mobile cafeteria when he fed the multitude. In this corner, he became a mobile hospital when he healed the sick. In this corner, oh death, this man has already raised the dead. In this corner, he's been called the King of Kings. He's been called the Lord of Lords. He's been called the Lily of the Valley. He's been called the bright and morning star. And oh, I call him a friend of mine. So in this corner, We have Jesus. Jesus is fighting for you. Jesus steps in for the downtrodden. And you see, in the match, death thought he had Jesus. Because you see, in the match, they put a nail in his right hand. They thought they had Jesus. In that ring, they put a nail in the left hand. They thought they had Jesus. And you see, they even put nails in his feet. They thought death thought he won. And then when they put that crown of thorn on his head, oh, they thought that it was going to be a TKO. But then they pierced him in the side. They thought, oh yeah, total knockout on Friday because he was dead. And they thought total knockout because on Saturday morning he was still dead. They thought total knockout because on Saturday afternoon he was still dead. But on Sunday morning, Jesus proved that he's bigger than any TKO. You thought Muhammad Ali was the greatest of all time. I said, you thought that Muhammad Ali was the greatest of all time, but Jesus Christ is the greatest of all time. So when you accept Jesus, you can keep your head up. I may be down, but I'm not out. That's right. Because I serve a mighty God, and he won't put more on me than I can bear. So if you don't have Jesus, you have to ask Jesus to come into your life today, because the journey, the way gets hard sometimes, but you have to have Jesus. If you don't have Jesus, you have to have Jesus, because when the tough comes, when the going gets tough, the tough get Jesus. I said when the going gets tough, the tough get Jesus. I said when the going gets tough, the tough gets Jesus. So when you get in trouble, you better know his name, Jesus. When you have to cry, you better know his name, Jesus. When life wants to knock you down, you better know his name, Jesus. And you have to be ready, because the enemy is cunning and he tries to get you down. But today, I declare that at the end, we all win. I said in the end, we all win, because we have Jesus. I said we have Jesus. I said we've got Jesus. God bless you.